What's up, guys, and welcome back to another video. And today we are going to be doing the Mets full trade deadline recap slash review. And we're going to talk about all the additions they made, all the subtractions they made, and then we're also going to add in a little something that kind of just aggravated me, but we'll talk about it. Before we jump into it, leave a like on the video if you do enjoy, subscribe if you guys are new, especially if you're Met fans, and turn on your notifications so you know when we upload or go live next year on Mets Central. But let's jump right into it. And let's just get into the deals that the Mets ended up making. So let's get into the subtractions first. As you can see, it started, I went all the way back to where they dealt Eduardo Escobar. I thought I'd include it there just because they got prospects in that deal. And he went to the Los Angeles Angels. David Robertson going to the Miami Marlins. Max Scherzer went to the Texas Rangers. Mark Canha went to the Milwaukee Brewers. Justin Verlander went to the Houston Astros. Dominic Leone went to the Los Angeles Angels with Eduardo Escobar, and then Tommy Pham went to the Arizona Diamondbacks, and those are all the pieces that the Mets sold off at the deadline. Could you have argued that they should have sold off more? Absolutely. I think they really should have tried harder to get Narvaez out. I think they should have took anything. Daniel Vogelback, it amazes me how he's still on this team somehow. And then with some of the other guys too, Raley, Ottavino, you maybe could have traded them, but at the same time, there's a chance that they're both back next year. More likely Raley than Ottavino out of any of the two. So if assuming that both are back, you have the option to move them at next year's deadline instead. If the Mets truly are punted next year, which again correlates with Scherzer's comments that we'll get into, but yeah, all those guys are gone, and that signified to me that this was going to be an interesting, like even with the Escobar deal, something gave me a vibe that they were going to go in a different route because Escobar got dealt randomly for prospects. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden we see Robertson go as we get closer to the deadline. It's like, okay, they're trading rentals. It's better to get something than nothing. But then Scherzer has his stupid post-game comments saying he wants to talk to Mets brass. He had those conversations, which he ended up leaking with Epler. And then next thing you know, he's gone a day later. And then all of a sudden, then it's like, okay, well, they're going to trade everyone with 1 year left. Maybe Verlander stays. And then all of a sudden, Verlander rumors heat up and then he's gone, where it felt interesting because because Billy Epler, after trading Scherzer, said that they're not going to sell. They're not going to do a complete fire sale, I should say. And they're not going to punt on next season. They are going to try to contend for next year. And he even doubled down on it today after the deadline. He was saying that next year they're going to try to field a competitive team, but they might not be in the market for big free agents, which Max Scherzer kind of discussed, which I guess I'm talking myself into just getting those comments, which let's just jump into Scherzer's comments. So I'm paraphrasing here. I don't remember it off the top of my head. I could have pulled it up, but I thought I would just paraphrase it. But Max Scherzer had a conversation with Epler. He said, okay, so what's the plan? Are we reloading for 2024? And Billy Epler said, no, we are going to take a step back and we're going to reprocess this team and reevaluate what we have here. And then Scherzer got the idea. I might just be better off getting the exact quotes here, honestly. I think that's the way to just do it here, just because if I don't, this is going to just be me saying random things here, but too bad I don't edit these videos to cut them off. Here we go. It was Ken Rosenthal, by the way, that had this conversation with Scherzer, which, you know, he's done that before when he got hurt, but he talked to Billy Epler and he said, okay, are we reloading for 2024? He goes, no, we're not. Basically, our vision is going for 2025 at the earliest, 2026, which is more likely. We're going to be making trades around that. And then Scherzer said, so the team is not going to be pursuing free agents this offseason or assemble a team that can compete for a World Series next year. He said, no, we're not going to sign the upper echelon guys. We're going to be on the smaller deals within free agency. 24 is now looking to be more of a transition type year. And that's all you could read because it's on The Athletic. And yeah, You got to pay to see the rest of it. So I'm just reading what I was able to see and what everyone else was able to see. But then we end up finding out later on that he also asked Steve Cohen to make sure and confirm if that conversation was legit, and that idea that they might take a step back next year and that they might not even be back in contention until potentially even 2026, if that idea was true. And Steve Cohen doubled down on it and said it. So I'm pissed off in multiple ways here with the front office, and I'm pissed off with Scherzer. Let's start with Scherzer. I'm pissed off with him because say the Mets did want to go in the direction of what like the Texas Rangers did, right? Where they sold off pieces and then they ended up getting a bigger farm system. They had guys come out. They ended up signing some free agents, but the Mets still had pieces here, right? And their prospects come up. That's their lineup. And they buy a rotation like the Rangers did this past offseason. And that's the route they go down. Well, Max Scherzer just ruined any chance potentially of bigger free agents coming here, because bigger free agents are going to see what Max Scherzer said and say, hold on a second, is what he said legit? Because if the Mets truly are not going to try to contend for a couple of years, then then why would I sign here? If you're Shohei Ohtani specifically or Julio Urias, who are the top two pitchers, why would you sign with the Mets after hearing Max Scherzer that? Your counter argument might be, well, the front office could always tell them differently, and the front office maybe lied to Max Scherzer to get him to push his no trade clause, which both can be true. But at the same time, the players they're a tight group. They are a tight group of people, and if they heard another player say it, they're going to side with what the player said and believe more what the player said versus what the front office is selling them. Because the Mets could easily be like, oh, Ohtani, we're going to try to turn this thing around and contend. Sign this contract. He signs it. And then the Mets say, well, psych, we're going to continue to rebuild, but we just wanted you here anyway to be a part of everything when we're done. And then all of a sudden that's bad business because you're pissing off your newly acquired star player. So it's just not a good look all around. And I just don't like Scherzer leaking comments either way, a conversation. And then some of his comments too, like the difference between Mark Canha talking versus him. Mark Canha is talking about how he says that the Mets still are a great team. He would love to still be a part of them. And that's a team that could still maybe make a run at this thing and get into the playoffs. Where Max Scherzer was basically like, yeah, this team is not even, I'm paraphrasing here, but he's basically giving the vibe at like he really didn't like playing for the Mets and that he was not happy with the Mets and he never thought the team was good enough around him anyway. But that's kind of the vibe I got. Maybe I'm just reaching and I'm just pissed off at the guy, but I'm not happy with the comments. And so are Met fans on Twitter, so much that everyone is planning booing the frick out of him during his return late August to Citi Field, especially if he pitches. Oh my God, is that going to be a nightmare? But yeah, I'm pissed off about that. But then when it comes to the front office, why am I pissed off at the front office with this? I'm pissed off because I'm begging, and all of us Met fans are begging for a clear direction. I know Billy Epler is saying, well, they're going to try to contend next year, and they might not go all in on free agents, but they're going to try to put a competitive team on the field. No. If you're going to rebuild, you're going to do it the right way. You're going to go ahead and have this thing tore down, and you're going to build this thing from the ground up. No, with this fielding a competitive team, because what are we rebuilding for if the Mets are going to just be mediocre, if they're going to try to field a competitive team and just be a 500 or just sub 500 baseball team? What is the point of rebuilding? Because the whole point of going through a rebuild is so you could stockpile top end picks. The way you stockpile top end picks is to be bad, of course. And I know there's a draft lottery now, which shakes things up, but if the Mets, as long as they're in like the bottom 5, bottom 7 teams, they should be in a prime position still to get themselves a good prospect, because how did the Baltimore Orioles get where they got and why their farm system is one of the best in baseball? They drafted Jackson Holliday. The Arizona Diamondbacks got Jordan Lawler at 2nd overall. Some of these guys you go ahead and get, and you need to get with top end draft picks. I know that I talk about how it's not like football, it's not like hockey, it's not like basketball where you go and have the number 1 pick and that guarantees you a future superstar. It's a little different with baseball, but there are plenty of examples of that being the case. And Jackson Holliday is probably going to be an example of a superstar. So you have that. Dansby Swanson was a top pick. That's an example there. Steven Strasburg, I believe, too. I know injuries have derailed his career, but you get my point that getting a top end pick is crucial. And no, you can't sell me or any Met fans this mediocre crap for next year. Because what is that sending a message to us fans and the players? All I'm asking for, and all fans are asking for, is a clear direction. Because I think as a fan base, we're all in agreement on this, that as long as they just gave a clear direction and said what they were going to do, we would all be on board with it. If they said, we're going to tear down, we're going to rebuild, it's going to be a few years, we all would hate that they have to rebuild. Because don't get me wrong, I've been advocating for a rebuild, but I hate that they're in the spot that they have to. I'm not pumped and doing backflips that they have to do a rebuild, but it's the right thing to do. That's for sure. But at least if they're saying, okay, we're going to rebuild, we're taking a step back, we are going to probably be bad for a few years, but it's going to be worth it when all of these prospects come up, when all these pieces come up, and then we're going to open the checkbook too, and then that's when we're going to be a legit threat to the league. That we could all get behind. Or even if they did want to retool, I'm not 100% on board with it, but I would be more on board if they were honest and said, okay, we're going to try and turn this thing around as soon as next year or as soon as 2025, and then we are going to see what it's going, and then we're going to try to field a competitive team there and really try to get back in the mix 2025. I'd be on board with that too. But the problem is we are not getting a clear direction from the front office. All we're getting is, oh, well, maybe we'll turn it around in 2024, or it might be 25, or maybe 26. Which one is it? Give the fans a clear direction. Give them a clear path so we could all be on board and just watch the blue. Like, I'm someone that loves to have a blueprint with my teams. I want to know what's going on. I want a direction. I want to be able to see this and be able to connect the dots here. I don't want to have to be guessing, which is what I've been doing, what all Met fans have been doing. We've been trying to guess what this team is trying to do. Because some Met fans think that some Met fans are under the assumption that the Mets are going to just open the checkbook this upcoming offseason and buy a rotation and then just be right back at it again next year. I don't see that happening. But again, we're not getting a clear message from the front office that indicates what they're going to do. And that's all that I'm asking for from them. I'm just asking for a clear direction. And I think all of us Met fans are in agreement that we just want a direction that we could actually agree upon and see, because it might not be the favorable direction for some fans, but at least, again, it's a direction we could get behind it, we could support it, and it's just easier that way, having the blueprint. Where, like my hockey team, as you can see, the New York Rangers, they sent out a letter when they were rebuilding. It's like, okay, listen, we're sorry that this is the spot we're in. We have to take a step back. We have to rebuild. We might not be competitive for the next couple of years, but this is for the better of the franchise. Did they mess up the rebuild? Yes, that's a different conversation. But at least they gave the fans that acknowledgement and said, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what's going on. We understand if you don't want to come to games and you want to cancel your season tickets. We get it. That's all I'm asking for from this team. They don't even have to include the last part about tickets. If you don't want to lose out on ticket sales and you feel that's dumb, then fine. You don't have to include that. All I'm asking for, and all the rest of this fan base is asking for, is Epler, Cohen, or when Stearns comes in, Stearns to say, this is the blueprint. This is what we're doing. We have a plan. We have an agenda. This is what we're going to do. And then that's when I get excited. trying to figure out the pieces that go together to this puzzle. So my head's all over the place with this team, but that's my feelings with the Scherzer comments. That's my feeling with that. But let's get into the additions that the Mets made, because they are exciting, and they quote unquote bought a farm system. I know, but I'm still very, very happy about the moves that they made. So the additions include Landon Marceau, who was part of the Escobar trade, along with Coleman Crow, who was also part of that, both pitchers. And in parentheses, you could see their rank in the Mets prospect pool. So Marceau is 25th, Crow is 16th. So two very solid pitchers in the farm system for the Mets this year. If you want quickly, they're where they are. Crow is in Double A, and right now he has a 1.88 ERA in Double A in 4 games in those starts right there. But I don't even know if he's pitched yet for the Rumble Ponies, so we'll have to wait and see there. Although I don't know why he hasn't, because he's been on the team for quite a while now. But then when it comes to Landon Marceau, he has pitched for the Rumble Ponies, and he's only pitched 1 game. Didn't look great. Didn't look great either in Port St. Lucie, nor with the Mets rookie team. But he looked decent with the Mets rookie team, but still, again, you get something for Escobar, who is probably not going to be here beyond this year. And it was good to get on the market early with Escobar, because they probably got a better return than they would have got if they waited till the deadline. Then we get into the guys that the Mets got for the David Robertson deal in Marco Vargas and Ronald Hernandez. I broke down all these prospects, by the way, in the individual trade videos. So if you want the more in-depth analysis there, go ahead and watch those videos. But Marco Vargas, very young prospect. Both these guys are young. Vargas is 18. He turned 18 very recently, back in May. And yeah, he's in rookie ball right now for the Mets. And in 3 games, he has looked very, very good thus far. And he's someone that I'm excited for, and I think is going to shoot up the rankings and eventually be the Mets' #1 prospect, or at the very least, #5 prospect. And that's at worst. And then when it comes to Ronald Hernandez, he is a catching prospect. He's ranked 21st for the Mets farm system. He is 19 years old. He is turning 20, though, in the fall. And he has been very good in Mets rookie ball, as well as he's been absolutely crushing it thus far. And again, and for all these prospects, you're probably wondering, why so many catchers? Why so many shortstops? Because you could see that it's mostly catchers, shortstops, and then you have some outfielders in there too. The reason why that is because the way to build your team is to build up the middle. That's how all teams do it. That's where they get their best prospects, and these guys could move positions. It happens all the time. Mark Vientos was brought over as a shortstop at 1.2. Keep that in mind. But Luis Angel Acuna, who is probably the prospect that I am personally most excited for, ranked 2nd now in the Mets system. And this is all according to the MLB pipeline. And he played his first game for the Rumble Ponies, I think tonight or last night by the time I'm recording this. And he went 0 for 4, unfortunately. So not a promising debut, but he has looked very good in Double A thus far, playing in the Texas Rangers system. This was part of the Max Scherzer trade, of course. So to get that good of a prospect for Max Scherzer, very impressive. And then you have the guy who they got for Mark Canha in Justin Jarvis. He is ranked 15th in the system. He is a right-handed pitcher. He's already 23 years old. So going to be weird to see what their plan is with him. He has been assigned to the Syracuse Mets. I view him more as a reliever in the future, but could be a back-end starter. We'll have to wait and see there. And then this is the big trade, or the quote-unquote big trade that the Mets made, as they traded Justin Verlander and got Drew Gilbert and Ryan Clifford, both outfield prospects. Drew Gilbert is ranked 4th. Ryan Clifford is ranked 6th. And I'm very excited for both of them. Both of them left-handed throwers, left-handed bats. Drew Gilbert is 22 years old, and he is he's really worth being hyped about. He has struggled in Double A thus far, but in High A ball this year, he absolutely tore the cover off the ball, and it will translate to Double A. You just have to give him time. He's projected to come up in 2025, but remains to be seen. And then Ryan Clifford, too. He is only 20 years old, and he's projected to come up only in a year after. I'm very excited what Ryan Clifford's going to be. I think he's going to shoot up the rankings very soon as well, especially as we see guys graduate. But He hit he's hitting 271 in high A ball with a 903 OPS. Very exciting stuff from Ryan Clifford, and I think he has all the tools to be a very good both fielder and hitter, and be a solid hitter. And then the thing that I wanted to highlight with Gilbert too, by the way, very fiery guy is what they're reporting with him. So he should fit in New York well, which is something that we like to see. Then you get to the Dominic Leone trade, which is just laughable that they got someone in the top 30 for Dominic Leone as Jeremiah Jackson as shortstop, but could also play second and third base. They acquire, he is in double A right now. He got sent to the Rumble Ponies. He could also play a bit of outfield as well if they wanted to. Not putting up the best numbers in double A right now, but he's still putting up respectable numbers. And for Dominic Leone, you absolutely take that. Jeremy Rodriguez, unranked right now. He is only 17 years old. He should crack the top 30 at some point. A 17-year-old shortstop. I'm not ready to judge him just yet. But again, another guy where who knows if he's even going to be a shortstop when we are talking about him in 3 years being on the pipeline rankings. And then they got two roster players in Phil Bickford and Adam Kolarek. And those two should probably be in the bullpen for the Mets very soon, especially considering how bad the bullpen performed against the Royals last night. Wouldn't be surprised if they're on their way to Kansas City right now, getting ready to suit up for the team. But yeah, like I said, this is the best thing that could have happened. The Mets get to bolster their farm system. An even better thing would have been if they didn't have the record they did last year and they could have got value for DeGrom, Diaz, and Nimmo, but that's besides the point. They still have a very strong farm system now, and they kind of bought themselves their way into arguably maybe a top 15, top 10 prospect pool in the entire major leagues. So I'm very excited to see what we have in these prospects, and I'm excited to watch them grow and become Mets one day. And worst case, we have to move them, and they're part of future trades that get superstars on this team. So this is the way to build a team. This is the way to do it. I'm very excited, and I think that this was, again, the right thing to do. Let me know how you feel about all these trades in the comments. Think about Max Scherzer's comments. Would love to hear from you guys in the comments on everything. Don't forget to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy. Subscribe if you guys are new, especially if you're Met fans. Turn on your notifications so you know when I upload or go live next, and I'll see you guys in the next one.